everybody! Hi! It's Quilt Nerd time. It looks like, I don't know, there's these little buttons on my sweater, but it looks like maybe like little beetles or something are crawling on me. I don't know. They're little, I don't know, it's flair. It's flair is what it is. Everybody, it's good to see you. Yes, welcome. Welcome to the show. My name's Mary, and I'm your host, and I'm the steward of this show. It's not just me who does this show, like not by a long shot. It's a whole community of people. And I think I mentioned the other day, maybe, I'll just say it in case I didn't mention it and just thought I did, but I wrote somebody a cover letter for a job they're applying to, and they've contributed to Quilt Nerd in many ways, and I wrote this cover letter, and I described Quilt Nerd as a community research project. And this person has been integral to the success and the growing of Quilt Nerd, which is a broadcast community research project with many, multifaceted parts, blah, 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 blah. And so, but I think it is a community research project, I mean, I think that's true. So maybe that's in the elevator pitch. But if you've never been here before, then you're in for a treat, because tonight is an amazing show. We have amazing things for you tonight. A special guest. And it's kind of a bouillabaisse show. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. I don't know. Let's get into it. I hope you're well, and I hope you had a great weekend. I know that Saturday I was in Lincoln, Nebraska, and we really had fun. Steph, that was really fun, right? When we were talking to Elizabeth and Willow and Stacy and Shelly. Yeah, good stuff, right?
For sure. Yeah.
So Stephanie Cake is on the line. She's the on-air producer of this show, and I can't do it without her. And Cake, I told you about one of the things that's on the show tonight, and you mentioned William Burroughs. Yeah, William Burroughs is, well, he's not on the show, but he's part of the content of the show tonight. The great writer, poet, beat guy, William Burroughs.
I'm interested to see what you have to show us.
I mean, you're gonna like it. You're really gonna like it. And I mean, that was interesting on its own, but then I was like, yeah, I'm going to talk about Burroughs and everything. You went to San Francisco when you were a lassie.
I was just a barely batter out of the bowl. I was about 19.
How old were you?
I was about 19, yeah.
Wow.
I drove cross country with some friends to soak it in San Francisco. Not so, well, Haight-Ashbury some, but more of like what the beats were up to.
Yeah.
So a little pre-hippie time.
Yeah. And it was like I say pilgrimage lightly, but you were called to go and check it out. Yeah.
Yeah. I had been very interested in the Beats and their writing since I was about 14, and along the way realized what misogynists they are. And
it's true.
Really horrible people, but they had some interesting ideas. They had some great adventures. They wrote about some cool stuff.
They did. They did something special, and with literature, and poetry. They really did, and culture. There were more women involved than ever got credit. And this is true.
Yep.
And to that I say, I haven't used the soundboard as much lately. I should use it. There's so many fun things. Champagne corks, plenty of that in the Beats world. I mean, they couldn't afford champagne,
sure.
But
some kind of rot gut.
Yeah, exactly. Mad Dog. Exactly. Gin, bathtub gin. But anyway, so Stephanie is so special to us, and you are special to us. And I saw a couple people, and you know what? I don't know. I've been traveling a lot, and so many things have been going on. Finn McCool's mom. I don't know if you know. Did I thank Finn McCool's mom directly last show? I don't think so. I don't know if you were here or not. But Finn McCool, I saw what you said on the social media, and it made me cry. And I'm a crier, and I am moved. I'm moved when things are beautiful or sad. And your post about how much you enjoyed Quilt Nerd, and how you shared it with your friends, that was a joyful thing. And you made me cry. And I'm really, really grateful to you. And the best way to thank you is to do it live on the internet to say thank you for that. It made me feel so good. It made the bakery feel good, and the bakery refers to Stephanie Cake, who started all of this, and Susanna, who came to me early on and asked to help. She's Pie now. And then Robin's Nest Creations is Our Lady of Subscriptions, and she had to have, a pastry name. So she's Biscuit, because that's her. Anyway, that's the bakery. These are these wonderful women who helped me out, And so the bakery appreciated that, and I appreciated that, and all of the people in the community always appreciate when somebody is like, hey, there's this cool thing going on. There's this show. It's not like anything else. And it's like history and culture, and you got to see it, and you got to like be there live to see it and engage. And that was one of the points that Finn McCool's mom made, is like, I've watched it on YouTube, I've watched the replay, kind of, seen what it's about, but getting in the chat and talking to people and seeing it live is really fun. And so it meant the world to us. And I just appreciate you so much. Thank you so very much. Yeah, very good. Yes. We have a sound cue for that. And I saw, Robin's here, and Yakamo is here, and Word and Bird Nerd, I sent you a envelope. I'm not even going to tell you what it is. It's an envelope. It's got a document in it, a copy of a document. You will see what I mean. And hey, Alita. Cranky's here, and Slim is here. Slim, it is good to see you. Padma is here. It's National Sewing Machine Day. That is true. I did not know it until I was glancing at the chat earlier. Angelina is here. Hello, my dear. Ivy is here. Ivy, I've got the thing. I got the thing. It's on my computer. And Jacob Jellies, thank you so much for subscribing with Prime. You've subscribed for 10 months. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Grits and Butter subscribed at tier 2. You have been subscribed for 9 months. Thank you so much, Grits and Butter. Every time I see your name, I feel hungry. I want grits. Every single time, and butter. And Finn McCool, you subscribed at tier 1. You've been subscribed for 3 months. That's amazing. I so appreciate you. Thank you so much. I appreciated you before I knew that. Quilted Soul is here. It's great to see you. And Dee Dee, God bless you. God bless you. Stephanie Cake's here. Oh boy. Raffle's here. Mademoiselle Larry from France. A good friend of mine was just in France, in Burgundy. I don't always do the roll call, but tonight I got to do it. Eva's here, and Hero is here, and Jill's here. Hi, guys. Eva, and Mishral, and Joyce. Raffle Waffle subscribed at tier 1. You've been subscribed for 18 months. 18 months, Raffle. I love you. Hope, you've subscribed for 9 months with Prime. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Thank you for your support. Jacob Jellies is here, and Mishral, did I say Mishral? Kitty Hannah's here. I'm so happy. Drink Wine and Solin. Kitty Hannah, okay, yes. And I've got Sherlock is here. Oh, God, you know what?
That's what I do. I invented Post-its.
Sherlock invented Post-its. I'm quite convinced. Who did I miss? Gosh, I hope I didn't miss anybody. If I did, hey, Saucy. If I did, it is a oversight on my part. Wonky, hello, darling. And Mother Nature, hi. Quilt Times by Yvonne is here. Oh my God. Ivana, it is so good to see you. You subscribed at tier 3. You've been subscribed for 20 months. You're a tier 3 subscriber. Do you know? Do you even understand how much that is appreciated? I don't know, but it is. And I thank you very much. And we did like hype trains all over the place. That's amazing. Gosh, I don't even know what's happening now. M. Hicks is here. Gamer Granny's here. And I think I got it. And we welcomed you. Yes, we did, Finn. Lisa Makes is here. And now Elle Riggs is here. And Mother Nature, it's okay is here. Okay, so if I missed you, thank you, Drink Wine and Solin. I appreciate you. You've learned so much. That's great. I appreciate that. Theodore is here with the music. Lisa Makes subscribed. Theodore subscribed. Stitch and Deb. Oh man, I'm feeling the love tonight. Okay, well, if I didn't get you, I hope you'll be chatting, and you can, and I can say hi to you, and Stephanie can say hi to you, and everybody can say hi to you, because let's get on with the show. But this is, I don't do that every time, because, there's a lot of you, and it, it takes time, but it's like, what else is there? Well, there's quilts to share and things to say. So, If you're new here, we talk about quilts, but we don't teach you how to make them. We talk about the culture of quilts and the history of them. We talk about what quilts mean and what they can do. And we talk about quilts out in the world. And there is an article in Smithsonian's Folk Life magazine. God, do I have that right? So sorry. Yeah. I mean, it's the Smithsonian, Folk Life magazine. And someone emailed me the link to this article that's online, the Smithsonian. I mean, like, the Smithsonian. And the person who wrote this article, which is called Quilts of Our Mothers, 5 Generations of Family Craft, the person who wrote this article is a quilt nerd. Her name is Samantha Windley, and she is a quilt nerd. Yeah. And she sent the link to me and was like, "Thank you for making quilt history so much fun." And I was like, "Samantha, your article is going to be on the show." And I was like going to read it, right? And show you the wonderful pictures in this article. And then I thought, why should I read it? I shouldn't read it. Samantha should read it. So you know what? She's going to read it. She agreed to read it. I'm going to show the pictures, and we're going to get her on the Zoom, and you're going to hear her voice, the dulcet tones of Samantha Windley. Yeah, Windley's voice. And she's going to read the article. How cool is that? That's so cool. So that's the second half of the show. Samantha is going to come on the Zoom, and she's going to read the thing, and I'll show them. Look at this. This is great. It's so much better than me reading it, right? I mean, it's this live article right now on the Smithsonian, the Folk Life. It's a very big deal. Congratulations, by the way. I mean, that is a really cool thing that they published your piece. So we'll get to you after the cake break, and she's got all the instructions, and Cake is handling the tech, so that's really cool. And in the first part of the show, well, I'll show you what we're going to do. First, every show we start with an intro quilt. Yeah, an intro quilt. Where is this? Okay, I'm gonna get small. I'm gonna get small so we can see it. We do a different intro quilt every single show because it seems to be the thing to do, And so I'm gonna show you what I picked. I picked this because there just aren't. I don't do crazy quilts very often. We don't talk about them very often because, to be honest with you, you know this if you've been watching this show for a long time, they're not my favorite. They're not my favorite. What can I say? But that's not fair.
And Dr. Dutton.
Oh, Dr. Dutton, really? He did. Maybe I knew that.
Oh, he didn't. He did not care for them. No.
If you're new here, Stephanie Cake is doing a very successful research project on a very special person in the quilt culture, Dr. William Dutton, and so he was not a crazy quilt fan.
Yeah, he actually devoted I think maybe a paragraph in the introduction to his book, the book that got published, about how much he despised crazy quilts.
It got its own space.
Got its own paragraph. Yeah.
Well, I mean, God bless him. I don't think I'd probably. It's so funny. I mean, doth he protest too much? I mean, a whole thing.
I don't know. Well, there's a little secret I will not reveal. There's a little secret about Dutton and crazy quilts, but it has to wait. But I will say, he's often known for being the Wild and Untamed, is what he calls Baltimore album quilts. And I think Wild and Untamed is a good name for a crazy quilt, don't you think?
It's really, maybe you should make it. Maybe you should make it. Maybe you should make a crazy quilt homage to Dr. William Dutton. So this is the quilt comes from this book. This is the book from which it comes. And we're Abe Books affiliates, so any book that you buy, pretty much all of the books we talk about on this show are used books. So if you use the affiliate link that Cake puts in the chat, if you're like, I got to get that book, use our link, because then we get a few shekels, and it makes a difference. It really does. Everything makes a difference. So this is the book, American Quilts in the Modern Age, 1870 to 1940, produced by the International Quilt Museum. It used to be called something else, International Quilt Museum, edited by Maren F. Hansen and Patricia Cox Cruz. Okay, so what is the deal with this quilt? Well, let me tell you. This is heavy, but I have something else on my book stand. And let's zoom in and let's look at this thing. Okay, maker unknown. Okay. Possibly made in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. 1880 to 1900, right? That was, so crazy quilts are a Victorian era thing that they were created, you know, this is a Victorian era kind of thing. And there's a fancy Latin term, horror vacui, and it means fear of empty space. And a lot of the decor and the quilts and things, you know, the textiles of that period, sort of, that was kind of the aesthetic. It was like stuff your living room with like doilies and settees and overstuffed couches and, you know, all that stuff. It was in fashion, you know. So crazy quilt is kind of, you know, it's kind of in that vein. It's silks. It's all silks. 80 by 79 inches. And here's what they have to say about it. And I'll start, why don't I start sort of at the top, and we'll just kind of go down, and I'll zoom in as they talk about the different things. Okay. Perhaps the most immediate impression one has of this crazy quilt is of its bright, almost fluorescent coloring. Let's take a look at the whole thing again. Yeah, fluorescent, right? In addition to the silk fabrics with the usual saturated primary and rich tonal colors, this quilt is worked with embroidery floss in unusually strong acid greens, pinks, and yellow browns. Much of the thread is variegated. Oh, interesting. Variegated. I thought variegated thread was like kind of new. Pfft. How dumb is that? I mean, not dumb, but like I didn't think, I don't know. Leading to a constantly changing surface with the variegated thread. The wide border is completely filled with a repeating pattern of exuberant looking leaves and flowers worked in these strong colors and effects. Yeah, the border is totally consistent, right? The flowers consist of daisies and rosebuds. Although they are given realistic shapes, their colors are not true to life, and they perch atop grass-like stems that do not appear in nature. Whoa. The most important effect is not veracity, but an overall graceful pattern. The border motifs are not actually confined to the border. Oh, wow. Oh, it's true. Oh, look at that. You're right. Oh my gosh, that's so great. Look, they dip in. They dip into the frame, you know? That is so cool. Oh my God. In the corner areas in particular, let's go to the corner. That's what makes this quilt so cool. I mean, I loved this one, right? And I was like, why do I love it? And now we understand like the things about it that are different. The border motifs are not actually confined to the border. In particular, they are carried from the black file? What? How do you know how to say that stuff? Faille. I think it's come up three times on this show.
I think it's file because I heard your mom say it.
Okay. Oh, great.
When we were in New York, I heard your mom say it. And
Listen to your mother.
That's a memory. That's how it's pronounced.
File. So I just have to remember, like, so, be American about it, Mary. File. Okay, great. File. Let's see. They are carried. This nature, this flora and fauna, right, in the border is carried from the black file frame into the body of the quilt. Similar floral motifs using the same color palette are worked on some of the patches. So let's go to the patches. The result is a unified piece that seems less haphazard than many crazy quilts. The fabrics used for the patches vary considerably. Unlike most quilts of this type, there are no velvets or other heavily textured pile fabrics. Rather, there is a concentration on lighter weight dress silks. There are many striped examples and others with watered or shaded effects. The embroidered embellishments are one of the strengths of this quilt. The border motifs are completed in a neat satin stitch, but a great variety of stitches are worked into the piece overall. The effects used to outline the patches are playful and seldom repeat. Wait, what? That's she's saying that, yeah. Like, look, like the stitches, the decorative stitches, right? These little plus signs, those little sort of daisy shapes, this cross hatching. Oh, and look at the horseshoe. They're playful and seldom repeat. So she's using all kinds of different stitches. The mount stitch, which creates the feeling of a crimped yarn, is is used to particularly good effect. It appears on the central phoenix. This is here, which stands out by virtue of its placement and strong color contrast. It also is used on the large lucky horseshoe. Wow, it's like I planned this out. Hold on. The large lucky horseshoe. See it there? I'm going to zoom out on the whole quilt here in just a second. Making the shape seem particularly three-dimensional. For unknown reasons, the good luck on the horseshoe. Wait a minute. Oh no, this is the horseshoe they're talking about.
Yeah, there's 2 horseshoes, I think.
So check this out. This is like this. For unknown reasons, the good luck inscription on the horseshoe is in mirror image. It's kind of weird and amazing. It's hard to see because, I mean, the image is pretty good. I mean, I scanned it really high res, but that's a really, really tight close-up. That's interesting. It's backwards. Yeah, it's a mirror image.
Yeah. Right.
That's
so the negative was backwards the way they printed it, right? Or is the quilt actually?
It's backwards.
The quilt was
yeah.
To be
so there's a detail shot that I just realized. Oh, but the green screen doesn't like that. I mean, it's if anybody has this book, it's on page 140 and 141. It is mirror image. It is stitched down, reversed.
Weird.
That's weird. It's awesome. I don't understand, but I love it. Sometimes there's a little bit more here, which is great. Sometimes motifs worked in mount stitch are used as a kind of top layer, as in the case of the yellow and brown butterfly applied over the border flowers in a corner area. Yellow here. Okay, the yellow and brown butterfly. There are other examples of overlayering with stitches overlapping each other and creating a sense of confusion between figure and ground. In addition to motifs wandering from the border into the center of the quilt, let's look at the whole thing again. A few of the central patches are carried over into the border, again creating a feeling of overlay. The already complex surface becomes even more of a visual puzzle. In the late 19th century, this complexity was considered sophisticated and was a source of delight. Well, yeah. The last paragraph says, in many ways, the quilt creates the impression of a fanciful garden. Flowers dominate, both in the border and in the center of the quilt. Sometimes they appear in vases. In addition to the floral imagery and the birds and butterflies already mentioned, there are images of tempting fruits, grapes, an apple, a strawberry, and a pear. There is also the spider web that appears. Let's find the spider web. Where is it? Have you seen it, Kate? Do you see it in spider web? So let's see. The spider web that appears on so many crazy quilts and seems to be associated with a fairy-like woodland setting, as well as the familiar bird carrying a letter in its beak, bringing good news. The quilt maker, we do not know her name, but the initials K and KG are worked into the piece, created a kind of happy, saturated world, an enchanted place, which is still able to create a sense of pleasure and delight. So cool, right? Okay, I see the pear. You see the pear down there? That's okay. There's our pear. That's like a triangle, which is very cool. I don't see the spider web. Of course it's here. Well, you just have to get the book. You just have to get the book and take a look yourself. This is a wonderful book, and I think a wonderful quilt. This makes me love crazy quilts. I love how the writer, Beverly Gordon, by the way, wrote that particular entry. She talked about saturation. Yeah, it's totally saturated with color, and that neon green, I love it. So this is the book, American Quilts in the Modern Age, 1870-1940, produced by the brilliant International Quilt Museum, Maren Hansen and Patricia Cox Cruz. Well done, ladies, well done. Okay, brief announcement. I'm going to be lecturing at QuiltCon and giving the special tours in 2024 in Raleigh, North Carolina. Oh my gosh. And I don't know if you can sign up for stuff yet, but like the schedule's out and you should sign up for my lectures and you should come to Raleigh. And it's really exciting. I love QuiltCon. I love being there. I always have, I wasn't there last year, and I was totally bummed out, man. It's a super fun show. Yeah. What's up? Yeah, Kate, do you have any?
I was gonna say, I think the sign-ups open up in August.
Okay. Oh yeah. It's a little ways.
Yeah.
A little ways away. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't know how big the auditorium is in Raleigh, but what if I sell out the lectures? I don't know. You can make it happen. Come on, let's make it happen. It takes a lot of lecture tickets to sell out a convention center lecture hall, but I mean, I think it happened in Nashville. I'm just saying. I did. So let's do it in Raleigh, people. Also, Finishing School Workshop is for sale at quiltfolk.com. It's me and my mom. We haven't taught together since 2018, and that was like one time on public television. So you should take the thing. We're finishing orphan blocks and tops, unfinished blocks and unfinished quilt tops from days gone by, and we teach you what we know about finishing these abandoned blocks and tops, these orphan projects from people we will never meet, tops from 1875, quilt tops that weren't finished from 1925, and we finish them, and it's a 3-part series with Quilt Folk, and it's worth every penny. I know, because I've been reviewing the episodes, and it's so painful to watch myself on camera, but I have to do it, and we're proud of it. It's cool. It looks really good. I want to thank the lurkers tonight. Really briefly, I got a postcard from one of you. It made my day. I'm so thankful. And the person was like, I'm a lurker, but I love the show. And here is a card. And I appreciate you so much. Thank you. And we call them the lurkers if they don't chat in the chat, and it's the lurker lounge. They hang out in the lurker lounge, and they never really, get into the chat. And I totally respect that. I get it. You just want to watch. You don't need to be in the, I don't know. You're in the lunchroom, but you're not I don't know. You're in the lunchroom, but you're not eating lunch.
Of attention.
You're not the center.
Cool kids around the perimeter.
That's right. You're smoking out back. Okay, you're smoking cigarettes out back. You're cutting class. I dig that. I get you. Okay. Oh. Photo Mom 41 just. Wait a minute. Oh no, Word and Bernard just gifted a tier 1 subscription to Photo Mom 41. Photo Mom 41. You have a subscription to Quilt Nerd for a whole month, and you know what that means? It means that Word and Bernard. Thank you, Word and Bernard. Photomom, you get entered in the giveaway, and you get to use all the really fun emotes, which are the emojis, and maybe somebody in the chat can help you see what that means. You also get to watch any subscriber only streams, and you get to watch subscriber only replays and stuff. There's benefits to being a subscriber to Quilt Nerd, and working on the subscription program is something that's always sort of it's ever developing, but when you subscribe to the show, you support the show, and we travel a lot. I go a lot of places, and it takes money, to stream from all these different places. I was in Lincoln, Nebraska last week. We were at New York City and in Boston last month at the Folk Art Museum and the New England Quilt Museum. So we take you all around, and there's kind of a rule that's kind of sliding into place, and that's that whenever Quilt Nerd is on the road, those streams from other places other than Chicago from Quilt Nerd headquarters, those are subscriber only. When we're on the road, when we go to special places, that's perks for subscribers. So we do it a lot, and I'll be in Lincoln again next month. Lots of cool stuff going to happen. So congratulations. And Word and Bernard, thank you so much. You're the best. Awesome. Okay, and tonight's show is a bouillabaisse. I made this graphic, and I got to tell you, bouillabaisse, when you look at it a lot, hold on, let me just take the chat out so we can see this. When you look at the word bouillabaisse over and over, it really looks weird. It really looks weird. But I wanted to make a little card because tonight's show, the second portion of the show is our new friend Samantha, and she's going to read the article that she wrote and which was published in the Smithsonian Folklife magazine, and it is called, once again, Quilts of Our Mothers, 5 Generations of Family Craft. So that is going to happen about 8 o'clock. So we got a lot to do, maybe just a little bit after 8 o'clock, but we're going to get through just a few little tiny things because I found a few tiny things, and I have to show you these little things. And sometimes, we talk about a specific artist on the show, and we'll spend, half an hour looking at a video of their work, and I'll read from a book, and we'll look at these different things. And it'll be a longer segment about one thing. But I also find really crazy stuff out there because I research quilt culture and I look at things and I make lectures and I make this show. So I'm always looking for this and that. And I found a lot of this and that tonight. So do you notice, Stephanie Cake, how you're in the bouillabaisse? Do you see on the thing? You're down here. I put you in the bouillabaisse.
It took me a moment. I'm up to my chin in broth.
Yeah, in broth. Yep, broth and quilts. There's me and my mom. We're in the bouillabaisse. Oh no! And then there's quilts in there, of course. And then this lady, remember, she was from Make It in Denim. That was a book that we talked about denim quilts, and she said Make It in Denim. It was this book. I don't know if you remember. Well, Stephanie, you remember because you ordered this book.
I bought that dang book. I had to know how to make that awesome kimono.
I mean, it looks very heavy. But she says make it in denim.
9 yards of denim.
Oh my gosh. 9 yards! How many yards are in a pair of jeans? I suppose it depends on the jeans.
That book was not written about recycling your denim jeans. It was written about buying yardage of ugly denim. It was like that polyester denim, right?
Oh. I mean, can you imagine Dee Dee and Kay? I mean, I love them so much. They have a quilt shop in San Luis Obispo. I mean, it's like I just imagine going into my favorite local, little quilt shop. Local quilt shop and being like, Kay, I need 9 yards of denim. Can we talk about how to get this for me? LQS, local quilt shop. I don't know why I called it little quilt shop, like little local quilt shop. I don't know. It's but it's local, right?
LQS is local, yes.
Yeah, local.
Yes.
Anyway, so yeah, I don't know. I'm sure they could get it for me. Baking Daisies could get it for me. But anyway, so we're going to talk about a few different things. And the first thing we're going to do is look at this. So it's Flag Day tomorrow. It's Flag Day. And so I thought we could, look at a couple flag quilts. Just a few, just three. And I went in and I found some that I liked very much. This particular flag quilt is from this book, Quilts, A Living Tradition, Robert Shaw. Oh, let me put the chat back up here. This is a great book. It's very heavy. It's very thick, and it's great. The pictures are wonderful. And this quilt is a different kind of flag quilt. So this quilt was made by Helen White. It's called I Pledge Allegiance To. Let's take a closer look at this. I Pledge Allegiance To. It was made in 1991, and Helen lives in Ukiah, California. It was made of cotton. It's machine pieced and machine quilted. It's 80 by 68 inches. And the quilt maker says, the title again is I Pledge Allegiance To ... Okay, I pledge allegiance to ... And Helen says, quote, I was born and raised in Norway. Some of you may have seen those Norwegian flags right in there. I was born and raised in Norway without a quilting tradition. We knit, and have embraced this wonderful craft fully since my discovery in the late 70s. My quilt, I Pledge Allegiance To, was meant to convey the struggle of having your heart belong to two nations. The quilt depicts American and Norwegian flag facsimiles using a traditional block pattern as a base. Unquote. Cool, huh? I asked a friend of mine, I was dating him years ago. He was born in Russia and he lived in America. And he came here when he was 8 or so. And I was like, are you Russian first or American first? Because he lived here his whole life. And he said Russian. That was his homeland, right? And so, but he thought about it, it was a very thoughtful answer, and it was very difficult for him to answer. So I had an insight right into what that was like, for an immigrant, And I'm sure many people, we have a wonderful community of interesting people from all kinds of places here on Quilt Nerd, and I'm sure there are, people who would give their own story and their own experience of which flag they pledge allegiance to, Pretty interesting. Okay. I liked that one. And I also liked this one. This next book is this book. America's Quilts and Coverlets. It's older, at this point. This one, Robert Bishop and Carlton L. Safford, and it was published in 1980. And a lot of the pictures are black and white. And, showing too many pictures in black and white on this show, I don't do it too often because, we kind of like the color stuff. But this quilt was so interesting, and tomorrow's Flag Day, right? That's why I've picked 3 flag quilts for you. I wanted to mark the occasion. And we look at patriotic quilts, all the time. I mean, we look at them. We don't need Flag Day to look at patriotic quilts or flag quilts on the show, but yeah, it's a good reason to put it into the show. So these are like full flags, many of them. What? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 13? Is that right? I think so. 13 flags in this quilt, like fully pieced and appliqued. Like those stars have to be appliqued, but they look almost like maybe reverse applique. This is a very, very intensive, labor-intensive quilt. I'm shocked at the work that went into this. And in fact, kind of looking at the whole thing is really sort of the way to see it. And what I don't know, are those roses on the side? Do they, poppies or something?
It took me a minute. It's like a shield.
Oh,
it's
okay.
It's just got like a really wide, light-colored stripe in the middle of it, or maybe it's even white, and it looks weird. But I figured it out. I was like, I think that's a shield.
I think, yes, okay. So if we rotate it and we go in here like that, yeah. Yep, you got it. You totally got it, Cake.
That's what I do. I invented Post-its.
Yeah, I didn't see it at all. I was like, is it a bird? Like, what's going on? And I'm sure, in color, it might still very well be quite faded in full color. But rotate canvas back. Okay, great. But yeah, it could still be faded. But that's pretty impressive, isn't it? So this quilt, patchwork and applique. Okay, patchwork and applique. So those stars have got to be applique. Patriotic, circa 1900. Dimensions unavailable. A simple, balanced design in red, white, and blue that is elegant in its clarity and forthrightness. And it's a privately owned quilt. Yeah. Pretty impressive. Drink Wine and Sew Lin, it's a shield. Yep. And this quilt, if you want to know more, and it is a good book. This book, it's just not. There's some color plates, but mostly it's in black and white. But that's really great. And if you buy it with our affiliate link, Quilt Nerd gets a kickback. And then the last flag quilt I want to show you is this wonderful quilt, which the color, when I scanned it, I don't know, it looks a little bit blown out, but you can see it's a white background with this flag star. And this is from this wonderful book, To Honor and Comfort, Native Quilting Traditions, edited by Marcia L. McDowell and C. Kurt Dewhurst. And this book, I have favorites. This is a favorite. It's really great. Oh man, the photographs are clear. It's 230 pages. It's like you get a lot for your money. And by the way, Steph, like if you click the AbeBooks link, like how much can you get this book for used? Are we talking like $10? What are we talking?
Yeah, $10.21.
Yeah, the Quilt Nerd Library is out of control. and added up, it's, Stephanie and I have both spent a goodly amount to get the libraries that we have, but you can get this book for $10 through AbeBooks, and you should get it. If you're a quilt nerd, you should get it. So anyway, this quilt was made by a woman named Marie Goodshield. And Marcia writes this: when I first approached Marie Goodshield, a quilt maker who has 7 quilts in the Buchel Museum collection, to reproduce certain quilts for the exhibition, I had some difficulty. Hold on. Okay. Okay, hold on. Okay, I'm going to skip that part because it's about the exhibit. Several of Good Shield. So Good Shield is a Sioux of the Sioux tribe. And I'm not sure where she lives, but she is a Sioux person. And sorry, the text goes on to say several of Good Shield's quilts are her own unique patterns, including a veteran's quilt, which has, and this is the veteran's quilt that you're looking at, which has the American flag design worked within the star pattern. Veterans' quilts are commonly given by families to members of the local American Legion posts to honor both living and deceased loved ones who served in the military. Veterans are highly honored among the Lakota people as a new form of old warrior stories. Those who have been wounded in battle are especially respected. They have the right to wear a red eagle feather to signify their bravery. And I love how she did this. I mean, the design is really powerful and just smart. I mean, the way that center star, you know, right, with the red, the three, looks like a strip piece, right? You know, 2 red stripes with the white in the middle. That action, that motion, and then the blue and white, the stars inside. And I like how they sort of look like Stars of David. I mean, there's just like a lot going on, and it's really, really great.
Did you say the date, Mary? Did you say
Nope,
the date?
I did not. Thank you. It is 1988, made by.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say, it just has like this bicentennial vibe to
yes,
me.
Yes, it does.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Like it was sort of influenced. And I don't know. Is there like a stamp, like a postage stamp with something? Maybe it's the colors or.
Yes.
I know there have been a number of quilt postage stamps, and I feel like I don't know why. That's like.
No, you're totally right.
It looks like something like that.
Yeah. There was like the pre-sorted like bulk mail stamp recently that was totally a star quilt-ish. Yes.
Yeah, maybe it's giving me those vibes. But yeah, I know it's not exactly the same. Yeah,
you're absolutely right. Yeah, it does remind me of that. And I am in error. So it's made by Marie Goodshield, who's Sioux. She was the designer and piecer, and Carla Running Horse, also Sioux, was the quilter. So they're in St. Francis and Parmelee, South Dakota. It's 76 by 82 inches, and it's in the collection of the Buchel Memorial Lakota Museum. And that is from this book, Honor and Comfort, Native Quilting Traditions, Marcia McDowell, and Mr. Kurt Dewhurst. There you go. Those are your flag quilts for tonight. Okay, now this little brief thing before we take a cake break and then come back with our new friend Samantha to read her piece. This is Edward Munch, okay? And I have to grab something. Cake, will you just entertain the people for 2 seconds? I have to grab something that on the printer. Hang on.
Okay, so I love it when she hands me the mic. So I've never seen this. I'm assuming that it's probably a pastel. And I know it's pronounced Edward Munch, but I've always known him as Munch. And this, but you know, it's that the way the strokes of the pastel, you could totally tell it's him. You know, I mean, you can see the similarities between that figure and the scream.
Okay, thank you so much. You crushed it. That's awesome. Okay. So this is a painting. So Jasper Johns and Edvard Munch there was a connection here, okay? This painting was painted. This is a self-portrait, right, by Edvard Munch. And it was painted in, this is all from The Guardian, okay? I'm doing the best I can. It was on the printer. I should have had it on my thing to review before the show. Look, it's not a presentation. It's an exploration. We're learning together. Hey, Gabri, 300, thanks for following the stream. Anyway, so this is what we're concerned with here, okay? And I can send you the link. I can give to Steph the link to the Guardian article, but there's this bed cover in this painting, okay? And it's a representation. It's a painting of his actual bedroom, and that was a bed cover that was real, and it was on his bed, and this is that. And is it a quilt? Well, that's what I kind of want to talk to you all about, because I'm not totally sure. I mean, there's a couple other pictures of this. Okay, so here's what it has to say. Strange Bedfellows, How Edvard Munch and Jasper Johns Painted Sex and Death. An exhibition, this was from 2016, an exhibition opening at the Munch Museum in Oslo this month and at the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts in the U.S. in November 2016 finally answers the question John B. Ravenel was asked many times over the years he worked as a curator. What was the connection between two artists as apparently different as Edvard Munch and Jasper Johns, the creator of the Scream, and the pioneer of abstract expressionism? And why had they given almost the same title to paintings separated by 40 years? Hold on. Okay, yep. The art history legend is that a friend of John's saw the Munch painting in Norway. So Jasper Johns did some very interesting paintings that had a similar cross-hatching, okay? I'm giving you the summary of the article. Jasper Johns did sort of similar lines like this, like in his sort of crosshatch, some sort of, there was a painting called Between the Clock and the Bed that he made in 1981 that was like very similar to this very bedspread, okay? And so the art history legend, the article continues, is that a friend of John's saw the Munch painting in Norway, this painting, okay, the self-portrait of Edvard Munch. And Jasper Johns saw this painting in Norway and sent him a postcard because he spotted the similarity between the bedspread and Jasper Johns' trademark cross-hatched paint strokes. And the curator of this particular museum, Mr. Ravenel, believes that Johns had already seen the painting in an exhibition in 1950 and had been interested in Munch's work for many decades. So there's this connection, right, between these two artists and this bedspread. So, I mean, what is this material? This is a detail shot of this coverlet. So it is appliqué. Is that fair? Like, this looks like, I mean, it looks like burlap, but it's linen, right? It must be linen. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's kind of coarse linen.
Yeah, it's exactly. So an extensive search turned up the real thing, still in remarkably good condition. Here's another picture. Look at this. So there's the Jasper Johns painting. That one of them that they're saying Jasper Johns was inspired by this coverlet in this painting by Edvard Munch, his self-portrait. He's got this picture, of himself, and he includes the coverlet on his bed. And and they're saying Jasper Johns was inspired by that coverlet, and it influenced his art. And I think it's great. And this picture, this is why I was like, well, I think this is right for Quilt Nerd. I think we should talk about this, It's not quilted. But it is definitely, I don't know, like not all quilts are quilted. I mean, to be a quilt, it should have 3 layers, technically, and be stitched together, quilted. But there are summer weight quilts and coverlets, and any quilt that's tied, like a log cabin quilt that doesn't have any batting in it, technically it's a coverlet, right? So we bend the rules a little bit. And for Edvard Munch and Jasper Johns, I'm okay bending the rules. But I think it's a really cool pattern, and I wanted to show it to you all because one of the things I hope that Quilt Nerd does is inspire you. I mean, we look at art, we're looking at Edvard Munch, right? Like, you can look at quilt magazines, and you should, especially Quilt Folk, and you can buy pattern magazines, and you can look at what's happening on Instagram, and that's all very cool, and you should do it, absolutely. But there's more, and I hope Quilt Nerd can bring you those things, those more things from outside what you usually look at. And so that's what Edvard Munch had on his bed, Pretty cool, man. And then the last thing before we take a cake break, and Cake tells us whatever she wants to tell us, whether it's about her research project or whatever it is, and we're here for it. And when we come back, we're going to hear from Samantha, and she's going to read us the article that she has written and has published in the Smithsonian Folklife magazine. The last thing here, I told you it was kind of a bouillabaisse of a show. I found something really neat. Actually, it started here. So that's Patti Smith, the great rock and roll artist, the goddess herself, Patti Smith. And she's a musician, if you don't know. She's also a writer. One of the books on my bookshelf right now is Just Kids, that she wrote about her life with Robert Mapplethorpe, the great photographer. Anyway, Patti Smith, she's sitting on a bed, and the bed has a quilt on it. And what bed is she sitting on? She's not sitting on her bed. She's sitting in the bedroom of William Burroughs, the poet William Burroughs. The late poet William Burroughs. Well, poet, writer. He wrote Naked Lunch. What else did he write, Steph? Naked Lunch.
Naked Lunch was the big one.
It was the big
Junkie.
one. Junkie. Yeah.
Junkie was the really horrible, gross one too.
Yeah, they're all
horrible and gross.
They're all horrible and gross. Burroughs was part of the Beat people, right? Jack Kerouac, Neil. No. Oh, I don't know. Jack Kerouac, Neil Cassidy, and Allen Ginsberg, Allen Ginsberg, and all those guys. And Burroughs was a very controversial character, anyway. But he's also pretty important, right, in arts and letters and all that. So Patti Smith, this is the only photo I could find of this photo shoot. It's pretty low res, but you can see her. She's sitting on this bed. And it's in William Burroughs' bedroom, and there's a quilt, and everything's been preserved. So everything in that bedroom is as it was when William Burroughs died. Well, so that's cool, right? It's a log cabin in a courthouse steps, I believe, variation. So then I went poking around, and I found that this man, Peter Ross, had taken photographs of everything in William Burroughs' bedroom. I mean, I don't know, maybe all of his bedrooms. I don't know. This guy, Peter Ross, in about 2010, I found an interview where he was showing and talking about the different objects that he had photographed that William Burroughs had in his possession when he died. And there was this typewriter, and there was this shoe shine stuff, and there was this. And I think, and this is a wonderful photograph, right? I love this picture. I think this is really neat. And hey, Saucy. Hi. Stephanie, he's so horrible and strange. He is compelling. 1,000%. So let's take a look at this, because is this the same quilt? I think so. I mean, the colors are very different, but this is a situation of the photograph. So look at this quilt. Okay. Let's zoom in on it. Okay. Now I'm going to flip back. I mean, look at that golden light from that lamp, right? The golden light is casting a tone. Is this the same quilt photographed in bright light? I think it is. I mean, that's a courthouse steps log cabin. We can't know for sure.
Yes, and Sherlock, ever the smarty pants, and Great Wit mentioned that it's ironic a man who had so much trouble with the law had a quilt of courthouse steps.
Oh, you know what? I don't even know what to play. There's this.
That's what I do. I invented Post-its.
And there's this. Chef's kiss. Who said that? Who said that?
Sherlock.
Sherlock's. Of course you did. Of course. That's why I pressed that one button first, That's very good. No, it's really true. I mean, he was a problem. But it's great. It's a great quilt, and it's not quilted, by the way. Well, I don't know. It's a log cabin, and it's really cool, and I really like how this person photographed it. Perhaps you might photograph a quilt that you made in this way sometime. I don't know. Now, the last picture I have for you, I'm not trying to be cute, but I'll give you a content warning. I didn't want to say trigger warning, it's lame, but there is a content warning. There's in the next picture I'm going to show you William Burroughs, who's kind of creepy looking anyway, has a gun in his hand, and he's pointing it like this, okay? So there's a man with a gun in the next photograph, and if you're not interested in looking at it, please don't. You can come back in 30 seconds and it'll be gone. But he's sitting on his bed, and he's pointing the gun sort of off, and I'm showing it to you because he has a quilt on his bed, a different one, I believe. Okay, so here it comes. Avert your eyes if you're not interested in seeing firearms. I totally get it. Here we go. Click. Yeah. So, and this was taken by the way, by a man whose name was Gary, Indiana, really. And he was a very interesting person too. And he was around at that time. But that's a different quilt on William Burroughs's bed. And the person who took the picture of the typewriter and the shoe shine stuff and the quilts, he said when he was inventorying William Burroughs's bedroom, he said, who was this guy? Was he like this person, a quilt collector? That would, like, a quilt collector was one of the things that this person was like wondering if he was. So this makes me think maybe William Burroughs had more than a few quilts. I don't know. It's interesting. He's so creepy. William Burroughs, just bleh. Okay. So that's it. Let's take a cake break. We're at 8:06, and when we come back, Samantha, if there's connectivity problems, I just realized I've been hyping this up a lot, but if Samantha can't come in, which I think she can, I think we're good, I'll read you the article, but hopefully we'll get her on the line. So, Cake, I'm going to give it to you, yeah? And I'll be back in just a second. Sound good?
All right.
Okay. Yeah. I haven't fixed Dunton. He's still moving around.
He's still being a creeper.
He's still being a creeper. Sorry. Okay, I will be back in just a second.
Well, I can say that is the ghost of Dunton giving the picture of Dunton a nudge. I visited. Oh, is my sound low?
Uh-oh. Hold on.
Uh-oh.
Sound. Okay.
I thought I had my...
Oh, yeah, hold on. There is something wrong. Hold on.
Okay.
1 second. I got this.
Nobody wants me to...
Here you go.
Okay, is that better, you guys?
Yeah.
So, what I was saying, in case you missed it, was that it is the ghost of Dunton nudging the picture of Dunton because, you guys, I visited his grave the other day.
Oh my God.
And I hope that doesn't sound creepy. I hadn't actually given it much thought, like, when I first started researching him, and then somebody said to me, oh my gosh, you live in Baltimore, like, you live right outside of Baltimore, you could, like, go to his gravesite and stuff. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I could. And, I almost immediately found him on, Find a Grave. And I also later on, I found his second wife on Find a Grave. And then his son, he and his first wife lost a child in infancy. So the child was buried there first. But it took me forever to find his first wife, and Worden Bernard actually, I think, is the one who tracked it down for me before I actually got up there. But there are pictures. I'm not going to share them because, again, I'm doing that talk at AQSG. I got to keep some stuff quiet. But I will tell you that it is an unfortunate configuration, the way that they have been laid to rest. Dunton is beside his first wife, and the second wife is kind of scrunched in under their feet. And I cannot imagine that the second wife, Jessie, would have appreciated that, because they all predeceased Dr. Dunton. So he was the last one to get there. So essentially for about 10 or 11 years, the second Mrs. Dunton was buried, like, at the feet of the first Mrs. Dunton and her child. So if that isn't weird, and I don't know. But I can say that the cemetery where they're buried is a pretty well-known cemetery north of Baltimore. And that area has gotten, like, very, very grown up. Like, it used to just be kind of a cute little college town, and now it's like they put towering skyscrapers there. Practically, it's terrible congestion. It's crazy, but and it was actually hard to get into the cemetery because it was a tiny little lane that not, like, basically like a one car width lane that I had to turn off of a major busy like thoroughfare into. And you go up into this, like, you don't even realize it's there. It's almost like a pocket park. And it is a really beautiful place. Very quiet. There was not another soul there. So, yeah, you know, even though Jesse got tossed to the foot of the heap, at least they're all buried together in a very nice place. I think his children are buried in their respective, they kind of scattered from Maryland, and I think they're buried in their respective places, but, you know, there was the one child there, so. Yeah, so that was my creepy Dutton grave report. You know, the first thing I thought of, I don't know if anybody was a fan of The Office,
yes.
but the later episodes where Michael was dating Jan, who was essentially his boss, and she made him sleep on like a little footstool at the bottom of the bed. That's what I pictured for the second Mrs. Dutton. And based on what I have read between the lines, the second Mrs. Dutton was not a quiet lady. She had some thoughts. So her ghost is probably the one haunting, you know, she's out there haunting somebody because she's not happy.
Okay, hold on. Oh, sorry, go on. I just got a thing from...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so, actually today I got in some more actual Dutton work. I actually, because of all the travels and the hijinks that we've been up to, I haven't had a chance to do a lot of Dutton work. But today I was really getting back to it. I was getting into some of the letters, and I'm highlighting all of the gossip. So if you're going to make it, if you can make it to AQSG, to seminar, I will be unloading all of this gossip. But if you can't make it, I will definitely unload that gossip after AQSG, because some of it is just, Dutton was a gossipy old lady, is really what it boils down to.
Really?
Yeah, he was nice about it. Now, Florence Petto, that lady, she was talking about everybody behind their back.
Really? Little scuttlebutt, huh? Interesting.
Yeah, well, and it's funny because this one set of correspondence I was lucky enough to get from Western Kentucky University, you have Dutton's letters to this one woman, and then you have Florence Petto's letters to the same woman. And although you don't have their response, you know, her response to either of them, you see the things that Dutton will tell her something, and then Florence Petto will be like, "Can you believe that he did this?"
Oh my god. Sounds like,
so
yeah.
Good. Oh my gosh, it's
typical.
So good. And then he'll like throw some shade on like, I didn't care for Florence Petto's, you know, the picture that was included in our joint article was really not necessary, and it was so small anyway.
So you're saying are the legends of our quilt canon, and you know these people, you know, these giants on whom we stand on the shoulders of, they're just like normal people. What a drag!
Oh, yeah.
What a total drag!
Yeah, you know, and I guess we tend to place them on pedestals, and they were
just totally normal.
They were something else. For those of you that have had a chance to listen to my readings of Ruth Finley's book, you will know that she could tell a damn story. And many of her stories, I think I've mentioned it, many of her stories are ending with like, you know, lost at sea or mauled by a bear or disappeared without a trace. So, yeah. Adventure
on the high seas. So, and Steph, can you put a link to your Twitch channel in the chat so people can follow you and tune into you? Cake's reading the classics on our Twitch channel, and it's amazing. And I have a lot of, I'm so happy. I'm so happy there's another quilt person doing a Twitch show. Twitch is the best, I'm telling you. Okay, and Samantha sounds like she's ready. I think she's in the waiting room maybe for the Zoom. I think we've got it. She said, I think I'm there. Is she in there?
She is here. You may not be able to see her.
I see her now. Hello, Samantha.
Hi.
She's beautiful. There's that. You can't tell, but I can. Hi. It's nice to meet you.
Hi. Nice to meet you too, Mary.
This is really cool. This has never happened before. We've never done this before.
Oh, really?
I mean, we've never done...
Oh, wait, Mary.
Yeah.
Somebody's saying no sound.
Oh, God.
Did something happen with sound?
Oh, no. Hold on.
Oh.
You have sound? Yeah, it should be okay. It should be okay.
Is there
Hang on. Because when
I was misinformed, I'm sorry.
Well, Samantha, can you talk? Because when okay, go ahead.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes. I think we're okay now. I think there was something was weird, but it's good. So first of all, how are you doing?
I'm good. Yeah. Thank you for having me here. It's so awesome to meet you.
You too. And I gotta say, like, I mean, I don't know. I can't be proud of you, right? Because I don't know you, but like I'm full of joy that you've written this piece and the Smithsonian Folklife magazine published your piece. I mean, that is really a big deal. I know what it takes. You got to pitch it, and you got to work with an editor, and you got to get the photos and the captions, and like it's a lot of work. It looks like it's kind of springs from the head of Zeus, right? But these articles take a lot of work and time, and writing is really hard. And so congratulations.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it took probably like 4 months from start to finish, but
yeah,
luckily my family was sort of already in the process of like making a quilt, so I kind of just hopped on that project.
Yeah. Okay. Good. That's a good introduction. So, and you watch Quilt Nerd. You know of the Quilt Nerd. I mean, you emailed me and you were like, you make quilt history fun, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. And you're like, I wrote a thing, and I was like, oh my god. And I was like, I'm gonna read it on the show. And I was like, what am I thinking? You should read it on the show. So here you are.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I have to say, just starting off my research about sort of the cultural history behind quilts.
Yeah.
And watching your videos and stuff, there's so much to it, and there's so many stories behind it that deserve to be talked about. So it was kind of a perfect jumping off point to sort of start telling my own family story with it. Awesome. Okay, so let's do it. So you sent me. So I know this process, right? Like you have a ton of pictures and you send them to your editor, and your editor's like, "Cool, we're gonna run these 5," and you're like, "No," because you have so many. So you sent me the folder of pictures, and because this happened today, I've got the pictures. They are queued up, and as you go through. So the pictures you see on the screen are the ones I took from the article. So I have these, but I also have the ones that didn't. I have your other photos, which are amazing, beautiful. So don't feel shy about saying, "Could you throw the one of the lighthouse up?" Or something, Mary. Like, do you see the picture of this? Like, that would be great. Please tell me, because I can do that. And this is casual. It's not like we'd love to hear this story. And you got a lot of space. I mean, they really gave you a lot of space. So let's enjoy it. And is there anything else you want to say before you read? I don't know. No, I guess not. I'm ready to go.
Okay. Do you want to say hi to everybody? Can I have you say hello? Okay, hold on.
Sure.
Okay. So wait a minute. Let me get my little thing. That's Sam.
Hi, guys.
Hi. Okay. Now we have a face to go with the name. Okay, so this is Samantha Windley reading Quilts of Our Mothers, 5 Generations of Family Craft, published in Smithsonian Folklife magazine, May 12th, 2023. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so that first image that you see is of my mom. And that's her bedroom in Connecticut when she was a teenager. And so that quilt was actually pieced by my grandmother. And it was sort of left in the attic for I think we figured out like 45 years or something like that. And it was kind of dug out later and finished by my mom's sister, my Aunt Joni. I think in like maybe the late 70s. So, so anyway, this article was definitely a dedication to my mom for Mother's Day. So nice. I thought it was a great photo to start with. Yeah. All right. So, I guess I'll just read it now and stop when there should be photos.
Yeah. Great.
So, you girls are good at running a big broken field, my grandma says, watching us dodge between the sewing machine, ironing board, and each other. Her brown, tapered eyes light up, radiating a childlike joy she has yet to lose. It is a bright and crisp January day when the family matriarchs descend on a Connecticut Cape house to take part in the centuries-old community tradition of the quilting bee. For generations, quilting bees have provided women space to gather, talk, and contribute their artistic capabilities to making a quilt, often as a way alone. And at 96 years old, my grandma Jinx has the most important job of the weekend, making coffee. Across the street at the local marina, boats rock sleepily on the Long Island Sound. Their white covers gleam in the sun while seagulls float above, unaware of the chaos inside. Dong, dong.
Sorry.
The south. Oh yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I've got it. I've got this other picture. Sorry. Hold on one second. Hold on. I've got this wonderful picture that you have, and hold on now. Hold on. This is really, really beautiful. Sorry, I'm just gonna put it up here. Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's so great. That looks fake. Okay, sorry. Go on. Right? This is the sea and yeah.
I see. I have sort of the collage there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, the collage was a mistake, but now I've got it up. You might have a little bit of a delay on the screen, but like what you're seeing. But what's up now is this amazing picture of the lighthouse and it's amazing of the sea, like the sort of torrential sea. Yeah.
Okay. I got you.
Okay.
Dong. The soft, usually charming toll of my Uncle Alan's grandfather clock now sounds impatient, reminding me we only have 3 days and no written instructions. Luckily, my mom Susie and her 2 older sisters, Annie and Joni, have planned this quilt for decades and can rely on their years of experience and inherited wisdom. Each sister grapples with the family curse, a head of thick, curly, frizzy hair, which grow bigger and wilder as the day goes on. Hair clips simply give up, launching themselves to opposite ends of the room. As the Hadcock women bustle between rooms and floors of the house, their voices grow louder and start to sink in cadence, which typically lasts until the minivans are packed and it's time for the families to head back to their own homes. We reorganize our work often to avoid mistakes. Wait, is that even pink? Dark, medium, light. That's weird. Is it my eyes? What's going on? I'm coming through with my coffee. 3.5 and a smidgen. Is this long enough? Did we just screw up? Shit. I settle into my designated couch corner, surrounded by pins, scissors, split pink threads, and reading glasses, to practice embroidering my name in a hoop. Joni and her trusty Singer sewing machine, circa 1969, bask in light below a big picture window. She comes to check on my handiwork. I've only finished the first letter S. Oh, you dope, Joni says, dismayed. Apparently, stitching the tie-off knot in front of the fabric is a rookie mistake. I try again on the letter A, realizing I better improve quickly if I want to be allowed to help with all the embroidery work we have to do. My sister Katie is also a quilt maker and is expecting a baby girl named Annabelle in June, my parents' first grandchild. This 100 Wishes quilt, designed by my mom, will be embroidered with blessings, wishing Annabelle a long and happy life. These blessings were sent in by family members living in the United States and France and range from perseverance to cookies. Containing the luck, energy, and love of her ancestors, this quilt will welcome and celebrate Annabelle's new life, wrapping her in warmth and strength as she begins her journey. Annabelle's 100 Wishes quilt joins a cultural legacy in my Michigan family, spanning at least 5 generations and more than 130 years. My family is not alone. Researcher Lisa Allen wrote, "The history of America can be seen in the history of quilts, in the rich heritage left to us by those thrifty, self-sufficient women who helped homestead the land, in the families whose history is sewn into the quilts, one patch at a time, and in the legacy of the art of quilting, passed on to children and grandchildren so they may carry it forward to the future. Whether adorning beds, draping the backs of couches, or safely stored in cedar chests, our family quilts are intimately connected to our everyday lives. In many ways, we are in these quilts, which bind our memories, our truths, our hopes, our values, and our creative spirits.
Quilting is a sisterhood, and one I have been grateful to join. All right, so this is sort of the first section.
Yeah.
This is, you have the pictures up?
Yeah, and then I've got the, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so this is my great-grandmother. Her name was Estelle Lee. She went by Stella. And this is her Indigo Delectable Mountains quilt. And I did a lot of research on this one. I'm not entirely sure. I kind of went down a rabbit hole of whether it was synthetic indigo or, what year polka dots were in fashion, and really try to hone in on a date. That I think this quilt was made after the Industrial Revolution, because mechanated printing processes made it possible to create a print that was symmetrical as the polka dot print.
Interesting. Okay.
And Czechoslovakian peasant dance. And the height of its popularity was between the 1840s and the 1860s. So the print and the dance sort of became trendy together, and it caused both of their names to merge. So I think during this time there was sort of a frenzy of the polka dot print.
Interesting.
And it was kind of worn by celebrities and in a lot of portraiture during this time. So that's pretty cool. I think it's pretty telling of the time.
Yeah, totally.
So, and her quilt, I believe, is the Delectable Mountains quilt pattern.
Yep.
So, my family's, this is our oldest surviving quilt, and it was passed down from Estelle. She was born in Mount Morris, Michigan in 1868. Estelle was the second of 8 children, and her father fought for the Union in the Civil War. Like many of the hardworking women in my family, Estelle was a farm girl through and through. She and her husband attempted to move to Chicago in the early 1900s to make big money. And this was something that we learned in audio recordings that my grandfather, Dean Joe, made before he died. But they only lasted a few years there. Luckily, they kept their farms. Estelle was she kind of figured that. So they returned by train with livestock that they purchased in Chicago. And her 4 children walked the animals the final 15 miles back to her farm. And this is where they grew sugar beets, and the girls would help cook for hired hands. So after Estelle passed away, her quilt was found in the cedar chest at the foot of her daughter's bed. So that is as far as we know of the provenance of this quilt. It honestly could be older than Estelle. It could be her mother, but those are sort of the facts that I have to go off of. And there is I do have a photo of the cedar chest.
Great. Let me go to that. Hang on one second. Yes. Sure. Hang on one second.
Yeah, it's just, I think this was a pretty typical chest to have in farming homes. So it was refinished.
Here.
My Aunt Amy finished it, and it now sits in her house, and I think it holds like blankets and pillows still to this day. So
it's so beautiful. Oh my gosh.
It's still so pretty today, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really great. Oh my gosh. I mean, yeah. Nobody makes them like that anymore. I mean, that's really beautiful. It's beautiful. Nice.
Yeah, so going back to the quilt, so this is a classic, like 2-color cotton quilt of this era. And it was most likely constructed when general stores began emerging. So prior to this, I don't think Estelle and her family could afford sort of fabrics that were not made after the Industrial Revolution. These were, as you guys probably know, they were really expensive and they were really hard to come by. definitely, new fabrics were pretty impossible, I think, to get your whole hands on if you were in a rural area. So, cheaper fabrics that were manufactured in New England textile mills, and then they were sold to these general stores, and then the farmers in that area could buy these fabrics. And also, following the English proverb and work ethic, a stitch in time saves 9, which I think a lot of us have heard, but maybe have not really made that connection to quilting. So Estelle took this proverb very seriously. She quilted, I think we counted 10 stitches to an inch.
Whoa.
And maybe even more, but I think it was like 10 stitches. So, and to this day, I mean, her quilt is in great shape, and it barely has holes. So it definitely was a sense of pride for her, I think.
Yeah.
So the Delectable Mountains quilt pattern that I mentioned before, it derives its name from the book The Pilgrim's Progress. And this was a Christian allegory that was most widely read book for about 200 years. And my grandmother, she remembers this book being assigned school reading because it was kept in most American homes. So a lot of students had access to this book. And it had a sort of wondrous description of the celestial city and the promised land as viewed from these Delectable Mountains. And so many early pioneers apparently adopted this book, and this helped them sort of reinforce their faith during difficult times. And sort of when they were trying to reach their own promised lands and making these major journeys. So there's also a more of a religious connotation here. In the center of Estelle's quilt, there's the Star of Bethlehem, and I think that quilt block has other names to it, but it sort of takes pride of place in Estelle's quilt, and it's right in the center. And this medallion also serves as a metaphor for homesteaders who made journeys to sort of the edge of colonial America and the sort of new world under the guidance of stars.
Nice. The symbolism in Delectable Mountain is really awesome. I mean, yeah, Pilgrim's Progress, not an exciting sort of like edge of your seat read, but it was so integral to so many people's lives, and it taught them stuff about the Bible. I mean, it was really, it really shaped a lot of life right at that time for a lot of people. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So the next quilt I'll talk about is my great-grandmother's quilts. Her name is, this is Estelle's daughter. Her name is Pearl Hadcock. And the pictures, she is sort of standing in front of her family cottage in Michigan. This is a home that's been in our family for about 6 despite none of us really living in Michigan anymore.
Samantha, can you say that again? The sound cut out just a little bit. How many years has the?
Let's see, almost 100 now.
100.
I think we're at 97 years old or so. But
wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's still. We have a lot of fond memories there. We sort of went there every summer as kids and stuff. So. It's definitely a place where you feel close to your cultural heritage, and you're sort of, surrounded by these old objects and these quilts. And that's sort of what sparked me getting into this article as well.
Okay.
Realizing really how old these quilts are.
Yeah, right?
That we just were sleeping on, and it was just something they were around, and we just didn't really ask enough questions about them.
Sure. Is this the house? Do I have the right picture up? Is that the house that's been that black and white picture of the?
I don't. Probably,
okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same one with Pearl in her old age, sort of sitting on the front stoop.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So,
cool.
Yeah, we still go there. It still looks exactly the same.
Cool. That's so great.
Yeah. So anyway, Pearl's sort of quilting represents, her stitches were becoming further apart. So this was definitely during Pearl's time when quilt blocks were starting to have names and were being sort of marketed towards women, and it was. That's and her particular quilts that she chose were titled Grandmother's Fan and Grandmother's Flower Garden, and these were popular mosaic shapes during the Depression era because they were sort of versatile, not only in the designs that they could create, but also fabric choices. So they could utilize like cloth sacks that held flour or sugar or animal feed, and it was a way for women to continue to make quilts despite not maybe having the income or the resources to do so. So oftentimes I think I read that companies, flour companies, they started making cloth sacks specifically for women to buy to make their children's clothes and to make these quilts. So it's also sort of a marketing thing for these companies to be able to say, our bag of flour has a print on it. You might as well get ours because you can use it later,
Totally,
so,
yeah.
Pretty resourceful woman. So I'll just continue with her story. So Pearl was born in 1896, and her family's farm was in Quanticossee, Michigan. It's sort of in the thumb. And her father, Leroy, he cleared this land himself. And they sort of considered it to be, my grandfather used to call the Michigan land the God-forsaken sandy soil, because I think it was quite difficult to clear and to blow up the stumps and to build a house. So the family, Pearl was the oldest, and her family worked really hard farming this land. And I think the fact that she was the oldest sort of required her to do the brunt of the labor on the farm. My grandmother, she sort of has a funny story of Pearl saying like, oh, my siblings were always in the outhouse. Like they were always hiding in the outhouse and like managed to get out of work. And Pearl always had to sort of, be the oldest and be the example and keep the family farm going. So she was, this work ethic really stayed with her throughout her life. She was really strong, apparently. There's sort of an oral history that she was teaching in a one-room schoolhouse, and her little sister Anne was one of the students. And one day the school caught fire, and these books are incredibly expensive and hard to get, especially if you live on a farm. So she and her sister managed to lug this big heavy desk outside full of these books. And then a few days later, apparently it took 4 men to carry it back inside after emptying the desk. So
these farm women, I'm telling you, they were like, amazing, right?
They don't, like you said, they don't make them like this anymore.
No, exactly.
So what makes Michigan especially interesting is that Michigan and the Great Lakes region, they obviously have sort of these Arctic winters. So there's sub-zero temperatures, there's this lake effect snow, and this really forged a resilient and adaptable population here. And they had to learn how to survive the hardships of these winters. So Pearl and her family, they really utilized and sort of relied on a craft industry, and one that sort of emphasized reuse of materials, and in sort of engineering the reuse of these materials to sustain themselves. And so to this day, I think Michiganders have to be pretty independent during the winter. And they sort of have to problem solve because help isn't always, so easy, a drive away. So Pearl, I sort of consider her the quintessential Michigander. She grew her food, she baked bread, she canned jams and pickles. My mom remembers pulling taffy with her. And she also knew how to tat lace and how to etch glass and cane chairs. And she also quilted. So she apparently knew how to make anything and everything. So I just find her an interesting woman, and just smart and, incredible.
You say in the article,
So,
you quote your mom as your mom saying she knew how to make lampshades for Pete's sake. Really? Like,
Yeah.
lampshade?
Lampshade.
I mean, I'd be like, well, here's paper. Like, I don't know. That's crazy. It's beautiful. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah. Who knows how to make a lampshade, but apparently she did.
Yeah, it's great.
So yeah, Pearl also her generation also it was a great time of change. So by the time she was in her 30s, which would probably be about maybe in the 26, 98% of farm families owned a sewing machine. So this invention. To express themselves and a way to support their families that had never been seen before. Can you hear me, Mary?
So, yeah, I can. It cut out for a second, but you said,
Hey, Sam, I'm going to try to turn your video off just for a sec and see if it stops some of the glitches.
Sure.
Oh, sorry, guys.
No,
It's okay. It just sounds like on your end, you may have a little bit of a slower connection. Yeah. So if your video's off for a little bit, it'll probably catch you back up.
It's not doing it too much, but yeah, a little bit. But yeah, you were saying in the article, by the time Pearl was in her 30s, 98% of farm families. That's where we're at.
Yes. Yeah. So this led to sewers having more intricate designs in their quilts and having more efficiency in quilt making and in making their clothes. So it sort of led to a flowering of creativity and variation. Families could also, because of the cheaper fabrics, they could now afford to have seam allowances in their clothes. So this would help if, a child was getting bigger in a shorter amount of time. So this would kind of allow for that growth. And this seam allowance, it also allowed for a little fabric to be kind of wasted along the way and then having some left over. So I assume that Pearl just saved this leftover fabric for decades. What she made for her 3 granddaughters in the late 1960s. She gifted them quilts for Christmas. And they were in the grandmother's flower garden, grandmother's fan, and Dresden plate patterns. So my mom and her sisters were teenagers then, and I think they kind of failed to appreciate the work involved. And I don't think they really understood the amount of time and the amount of work that these quilts took.
Yeah.
And, it's sort of that attitude is sort of reflective of their childhood, especially in suburban America. They mass production of home goods.
Right.
And you can definitely sort of see this in advertisements during this time. It was definitely marketed towards the moms of the home, and it was sort of a symbol of stability and your ability to create sort of the perfect home if you had these appliances, if you had these goods. Right. So during sort of 60s America, industry was definitely booming, and there wasn't really a need to learn the crafts of your forebears because, when the department store was a short drive away. Right. So suddenly I think during this time, quilts were old fashioned, and the tradition kind of fell out of favor. But
for a lot of people it did, not for everybody, but yes, like a lot of people, but absolutely, you're absolutely right. Like a lot of people didn't want to see a needle and thread, right? Like they didn't, the hard times of the Depression were over, and they were like, let's not do that again. That reminds me of bad times. But absolutely.
Yeah, so my grandma, who did live during the Depression, she did try to pass on a respect that she felt for the work that Pearl put into these quilts. And she told my mom and her sisters that it might not mean much to you now, but it will.
Right, exactly.
And she was absolutely right about that.
Yeah. Yep. So then community. The next section you talk, and if read the article is so good. You're talking about Audrey now, nicknamed Jinx.
Yeah.
Let me find. Hold on.
Her nickname is Jinx, and it was a nickname given by her dad, Earl. So it was sort of a joke, like whenever they went to, I think, the farmer's market and they were trying to sell apples and they didn't sell enough or something bad happened, he'd be like, oh, it's because of you, you're my Jinx, and
nice.
I don't think he actually meant it or thought that, but it stuck. Her siblings called her that, and a lot of my family members call her that too. So.
It's the coolest nickname ever.
I know.
Jinx. It sounds like a superhero.
She's the coolest lady. So this quilt was actually in the sort of the main photo of the article. And sort of the one coinciding it, the portrait of my grandma, that's her graduation photo. And she graduated from Michigan State University. And she was the first woman in her family to attend college and pursue passions outside of the home or her family business. And so she pieced this Dresden plate quilt topper with her sister when she was, I think, 12. She kind of abandoned it after losing interest. So...
This is the one that's on. This was on the bed of your mom, right? The main picture, the first picture of the Smithsonian piece. Yeah, this one. Wait, hold on. Yeah. Okay. Are you there,
sorry,
Sam?
can you guys hear me all right?
Okay, now we can. We're having a little connectivity
I
problem.
think we lost you for a minute.
Okay.
I'm so sorry about that.
No, it's okay. It's okay. But you know what I'm thinking? I think because we're having a little bit of connectivity stuff, I think the best thing is for you to read the article, like read through, and because I am worried about that. Like if we lose you, like losing is, it's like welcome to my world, Samantha. Like it's really tough. So if you could just read the actual piece, and I will do my best to sort of get the photos that make sense, like going by the article. I think that'll be the best way to do it, so that we, so if it happens a couple times, it won't. I think that's better. So I think that's good.
Okay, so I'm sorry about this.
No, it's you didn't do anything. You it's perfect. It's perfect. But yeah, let's do that. So
okay, sure.
Yeah.
So on the community section.
Yeah.
So my grandma Audrey, nicknamed Jinx, will be the first to tell you she is not a quilter. She was born in Birmingham, Michigan, where her family was developing 1,000 acres of farmland into a community called Lathrop Village, a city that still exists today in the suburbs of Detroit. In the 1930s, Lathrop town site boasted relatively few houses, but it did offer a school, a town hall, playground, and a free bus service. As a young man, Audrey's father, Earl, he helped plot and grade the curvilinear streets of Lathrop Village using a horse and dump scraper. And he eventually became a manager of the family properties and apparently always worried about the weather and locusts. So Audrey and her family, they ran a 65-acre orchard and cedar mill themselves. She spent her days picking crab apples or making hideaways in the trees, stashed with her books wrapped in oilcloth. Occasionally, her father would throw a beet into the cider press, making it a prettier color.
Oh, my God.
As the oldest, Audrey aided her father during summer lightning storms, looking for fires that might have broken out on the farm share properties. A natural leader and public speaker, Audrey took on the responsibility of teaching the younger grades while attending a one-room school in Farmington. She eventually became president of her high school class and editor of the school paper.
Wow.
Audrey started piecing her Dresden plate quilt when she was 12 years old, a year before World War II broke out, and she chose to leave it behind. The quilt remained in pieces for 45 years until her daughter, Joni, discovered them in a lone box in the attic.
Wow.
The war cast a long shadow on everyday life and on Audrey's classmates. And from their ration books, Audrey's family would trade sugar stamps for coffee stamps with a lady across the street who did a lot of baking. And my grandma remembers owning a pair of green shoes made of fabric-covered cardboard that she couldn't wear in the rain or snow because they would fall apart. And the demands of war and the need for survival, I think, caused family crafts to be neglected. And, you know, women were called upon for the war effort, and they were educated, they were active, and they were resilient. So on her first day at Michigan State University, Audrey met Dean. That's my grandfather, and he was a returning GI who was stationed in Ottawara, Japan. So during their senior year, Dean gave her his sweetheart pin, and they would marry several years later. And so while Audrey and many women of this era became homemakers, they also became lifelong volunteers and community leaders due to their wartime experiences and their duty to pitch in. And their children would go on to lead the second wave feminism movement of the 1960s and 70s.
I just want to tell you, as you go on to this next section, there's a family section and then the legacy section. Your writing is really great. I love to hear you reading it. I mean, it's really tight, and it's really, I love the way you structured it. You know, like this particular section is family, and then this last section is legacy. And it's really good, Samantha. Are you published other places?
What was that? Sorry?
Are you public? Where else? Like, where else are you writing? You know, are you writing? Do you write a blog, or are you?
Right now,
or do you have other?
Right now, I'm just writing with Folklife. I am working on another article for them, but this was sort of my first publication and first like creative writing thing. So I had such a blast doing it, and I really hope to keep doing it and sort of find that outlet. But that's kind of where I am. I'm hoping to find my sort of way there.
You're doing a great job. And so read us the article, this next section that's family, about this as the generations go on. It's really, really great. Your writing is really great. So
thank you. Oh my gosh, thanks a lot, Mary.
Yeah. So
I tried to structure the article sort of in like a word that would sort of epitomize what the quilt meant to the woman who made it.
Yeah,
so
sure.
That's sort of where I was going with the structure there. But
yeah, it's good.
Yeah,
so go on,
Aunt. Section, those are my aunts and my mom.
Okay.
That's my Aunt Joni and my mom Susie and her older sister Annie.
Okay.
And this is kind of a funny joke picture. That's them like playing dress up at our cottage in Michigan.
They look amazing.
Want me to say that because they were playing like they were I think there was some like gangster girlfriends or something. They were playing dress up.
They look amazing. I mean, goals.
Who cares? They look great.
It's goals. Yeah, I love it. I love everything about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so go on. So Anne, Joan, and Susie spent their childhoods. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So my Aunt Joni made a crazy quilt for my mom. My mom got married in 86, but my Aunt Joni is sort of she spent her youth in the 1990s, and I think the crazy quilt sort of encapsulated the spirit of creative change during this time.
Interesting.
Even though it was first popularized in the Victorian era, I think this quilt was sort of reinvented again to allow for an even more free-spirited approach. And so I think Joni kind of took that inspiration and ran with it, really.
Yeah,
so,
interesting.
So Anne, Joan, and Susie, they spent their childhoods in Battle Creek, Michigan, and it is called Cereal City, and this is due to the many cereal plants based there. Their father, Dean, was an engineer for Post cereals.
Interesting.
And though their childhood was rather idyllic, I think 60s America was also, chaotic, and it was divided. And my mom says it was like effing loud. It had race riots going on, the moon landing, the assassination of JFK. And more specifically, I think the Vietnam War sort of added to this really scary time for them. And, young men in the neighborhood were given draft numbers, with many sent senselessly and ill-equipped into guerrilla warfare. So I think the cultural landscape of the 1970s was a direct reaction to this explosive decade. And it prompted nostalgia for the homespun and sort of the simpler times. The Back to the Land movement inspired many young people to turn to handiwork, I think, to find healing and solace and comfort and community again. So they began practicing the traditional crafts of their grandparents, but again, sort of added their own creative touches. And so from knitting Icelandic sweaters to embroidering clothes, woodworking, weaving. My mom says if you weren't like hanging out with your friends, you put a record on and you did something like this in your room. So in the summer of '86, my parents, Mark and Susie, got married. As a wedding gift, Joni, she spent months working on this, on a beautiful crazy quilt. And sewn into the bottom right corner are pieces of fabric and lace from Estelle, Pearl, Audrey, and Anne's wedding dresses. And as the decades have passed, this wedding quilt it's come to represent more than, the bond between sisters, but sort of the love of our tight-knit family. So a year and a half after my parents got married, Joni married my dad's brother, Alan. So 2 Hadcock sisters married 2 Ridgway brothers. So it's...
I love that when that happens. I'm like, oh my God,
So,
it's great.
My parents, they went on to have 3 kids. My sister Katie, obviously, and me, and my twin brother Tommy. And Joni and Alan also had 3 kids. My cousins David, Joey, and Charlotte. And our family dynamic kind of set the cousins up perfectly to, be a second set of siblings for one another. So 2 weeks out of every summer of our childhoods, they were spent at our summer house, sort of what I mentioned before. We call it the cottage. And it's located in Fremont, Michigan. And I just have memories of like giggling every second and sleeping on the porch. And like I said, usually wrapped up in these worn quilts of our ancestors. That we didn't really understand until now. And
I was going to say this picture, I wanted to show this one. You had it in your Google folder, and it's so great. And it's of quilters in 1972 or something like that, quilting in Central Park. And this is it's a famous shot from, I found it on, I think, Wiki Commons or something, which is probably where you found it too. But it's somebody, people were saying, oh, it's a great picture. And it is. This is iconic to me because when Samantha's talking about her family and like the turmoil of the 1960s and 70s, and you totally nailed it, the Back to the Land movement and all these different things, this return to the roots and things of handicraft, right, of doing it for yourself and all of that. This is a great picture of that, and I just wanted to mention that because it's so good, and it's a great photograph. So anyway, sorry, you go ahead. We're almost there. We've got the legacy.
About that. I think there was also sort of a combination of cultural phenomenons during that time of the Gee's Bend quilt exhibit in 1971 at the Whitney, I think, was a huge. Obviously, you guys, it's world renowned. I mean,
it wasn't. It wasn't the Gee's Bend, but you're right. In 1971 at the Whitney, it was the Abstract Design in American Quilts. You got it exactly. There was a huge exhibit. Yes. Yeah.
Anyway, I think that might have contributed to sort of the. Further sort of an artistic revolution during that time.
1,000% absolutely did. You are absolutely right.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll go on to the legacy section.
Yeah.
This is the 100 Wishes quilt that my aunts and my mom and I made. And that's just a picture of it sort of waiting for Annabelle in her quilt and her crib. And then that's my mom. That's my mom, Susie.
Oh, Mom.
This was at her baby shower, so she's proudly wearing a Grandma to be pin.
Yes, Grandma.
So in the foothills of Salt Lake City, on a quiet and soft gray April morning, my mom pulls a special box from her suitcase. My parents arrived days before Katie's baby shower and have spent the week assembling a crib and a stroller, hanging pictures, and preparing my sister's house for friends. Thomas, my sister's husband, brews a fresh pot of coffee with his stovetop French press. They sit together in a pile on the couch with their beloved black Labradoodle. What is this? My sister asks as she gently pulls blush pink tissue paper from the box. My mother winks. Oh, just a little something from the family. As Katie reaches Annabelle's 100 Wishes quilt, her eyes grow. Thomas helps her, pulling out the soft cotton to read the embroidered blessings, as my mom gleefully explains the process of making the quilt and the meaning behind the words. Katie is very impressed. I managed to embroider 2 neat rows, by the way. I watch from the corner as my sister crosses the room to our mom. The 2 most important women in my life hug. I love you, Katie says quietly. I love you too, little one. My mom answers, her eyes closed. Katie scurries off to put Annabelle's quilt in her crib. Long after we are gone, Annabelle's quilt will still be. She can... Sorry.
What? Are you okay? Are you crying?
Oh, yeah. A little.
Oh my God. Sorry. It's okay. You can cry. You can totally cry.
Me too.
I cry all the time. Here on this show and elsewhere. You're good. Yeah, Steph's crying too. Okay. Take your time.
Okay, I'll keep going. Long after we are gone, Annabelle's quilt will still be. She can bunch it in her hands and run her fingers over the mismatched knots and stitching, remembering us. For the long line of women in my family, quilt making has allowed us to have the time together and the space to share our connection, our knowledge, and our experiences. Quilts are a piece of our souls, something beautiful we can create and leave on this earth. They are a part of our most vulnerable and intimate moments when we need softness and safety to allow our dreams to take over. They are our mothers, up at night and brushing our cheeks, saying, I'm here, now go to sleep. You are loved. We are forever.
Thanks, Samantha. The cake doesn't cry, and you make me cry.
Sorry, I am such a sap.
No, you're...
No, that was so
you're-
good. So good.
You're alive. You're alive and you care and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And could you just read the dedication? Because
Sure.
at the end, this is the article.
I would like to dedicate this article to my mother, Susan Ridgway, with a sincere thank you to Joan Ridgway, who has spent years researching, documenting, and preserving our family heritage.
Wow. That was great, Samantha. That was amazing. That was an amazing piece, and you the way you delivered it tonight. You took the article and you were giving us more, right? You were giving us some. Yeah, it's great. It's great, and you were giving us some like context and stuff like that, and that's such a treat for our audience because everybody gets to read this great article. Hopefully you will share it, the audience will share it with other people and read it again and tell people about it. This is a young person writing about quilts in a major magazine. That's a really big deal, and we champion that and celebrate that. It's amazing. So but it was so cool to have you here, and we didn't rehearse this. I'm pulling up pictures. I'm like, oh my God, they get it right. But what a gift, right, to have the author of this piece talking to us and telling us a little bit more and sort of narrating the whole story. This is what you've done is it's respect, you've given such respect to your family and to the women of your family, the matriarchs, and it's still happening. Yeah. And what was the process like for you? I mean, who did you talk to? You talked to your mom, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, my family, I think this whole process kind of started out, I know it's so cliche, but the whole, you write what you know thing.
Yeah.
My family is so lucky, and why I thanked my Aunt Joni in this is that she really has been collecting our family history for decades now.
Wow.
As soon as Ancestry.com was a thing.
Yeah.
And so we are so lucky that we really know these names, and we have names to these photos, and she went back as far as we can go.
Wow.
And, and there's being surrounded by these women is just, there are so many stories that are just naturally passed around and talked about, and just over coffee and just being around them. And so there's such a strong sense of family and of heritage just by being around them. And it's probably, I mean, it's really made our family so special and so, made, like I said, a sort of our bond so strong is that these stories are alive with our family, and we are sort of surrounded by these old objects that I don't know if we really, if a lot of families have, or maybe they just don't consider, or what. But I mean, these are definitely, like I said, quilts they are an object that they are connected to our everyday lives.
Yeah.
Like these objects are around, and they have histories, and they have their own lives. You know.
Yeah, totally. I love how you said that they have their own lives, and yeah, I mean, like, you know, we have these dusty old quilts, and we have these quilts, and you know, a woman asked me, like, what am I supposed to do with them? You know, like, I don't really like them. You know, I don't really want to hang on to them. And like, I understand that. I do. I understand, you know, styles change and things change. But, you know, it's like, maybe they do matter. You know, maybe like they really do matter. And like, they're this pathway to kind of understand who you are, really who you are. Who are you? And like, even if, like, you know, my husband does not, there's no love lost, you know, with his family. I mean, he had, you know, his situation was not so great, you know, growing up and everything. So sometimes, you know, family is very complicated and all that. But if there's quilts in your family, it's like, it really is this line. It's this like hotline, right, to the past and who you are and who your kin is and who your blood is. Who are you? You know, where'd you come from? And even if it's a beautiful story, right, like you have these really fascinating women, you know, who were strong, physically strong, and you know, just tough and awesome. And you know, this is probably my favorite one, I have to say, you know, this picture of these chicks. But you know, it's like these are, and the quilt provides a pathway. It provides a, you know, a current. It's like a circuit, right? Yeah. Yeah. And then what else do you have? You know, it's like you're on this earth for a little while. Who are you? You know, and these quilts can kind of like be that. And I think you capture that in your article so well. Yeah.
Thank you, Mary. Yeah, that was sort of what I kind of walked away from after writing this. Was I was so thankful that these quilts sort of allowed me to spend the time to like really sort of go over our family history and really be like, you know, where was their farm, and you know, what did they do there, and you know, really kind of get into these stories more. So it was such a wonderful way for me to tell the lives of these women and to preserve them and to celebrate them.
Yeah. Well, you did it, girl. Congratulations. That is Samantha Windley. Yeah, just hats off to you, Samantha. I can't see you anymore because we took the video off. Good call, Stephanie K, because I think it helped with the glitch. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thanks for jumping in. I was like, I'm going to read your thing. Wait a minute. Why don't you do it? And so we did it, and we made it happen. And I thank you for being brave on that. It runs in the family, I think.
Oh, thanks. I hope so.
Have a great night.
Sam, I know that I think you turned off your Twitch stream to make it more streamlined, but everyone loved your article. So it was not just me and Mary fangirling over you, but all the other nerds are in awe.
Thank you so much for letting me tell it and really giving me this time. I really, really, really appreciate it. And thank you for everything you guys do to sort of keep this craft alive. It's really just it's a beautiful community that I've been able to sort of get into. So thank you guys.
Well, you are very welcome. You're very welcome.
All right. Well, sorry for the glitches and sorry I cried.
You didn't do any. Never apologize for crying, or I hope you don't. And the glitches are just part of this gig. Thanks, Samantha.
All right.
Bye, honey.
Well, take care. Bye now.
Take care. Well, for heaven's sakes. Well, just for heaven's sakes. How fun was that? Look at that. Look at that, bringing people in. Nice. It's a huge accomplishment. Huge.
Yeah. I mean, can I just say I'm jealous?
Yeah.
Because I mean, you know, you and I like to craft with the words.
Oh, yeah.
And Smithsonian. That is not too shabby.
Very cool.
If you're a nerd, that's the coolest dang gig ever.
Yeah. I mean, and Samantha's there, a writing intern, at the Center for Folklife and Cultural Heritage, and a magna cum laude graduate of George Mason University with a BA in anthropology. I didn't even know that until this very moment. Amazing. She hopes to continue to write creatively and help foster human connection through her stories surrounding art, archaeology, history, and culture. Gee, where does she hang out? Here here. She likes Quilt Nerd. What does that say? What does that say about us? You know, we got these cool kids. She's so young. Hanging out with us, hanging out with you. That's good stuff. Hey, everybody. I mean, a great show. Stephanie Cake. It's always a surprise. What happens here?
It is. It's always a crack up of the best kind.
William Burroughs, Patti Smith, folks writing articles.
9 yards of denim.
9 yards of denim. Bouillabaisse. Your head, my head, floating in soup. I mean, basically, it was a William Burroughs novel, but better, way better. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. Thank you so much. You are the best. And, did you ever tell us what you did not want Stephanie Cake to know? Thanks, Ivana. Okay. Yes. No, I did not tell you. And now I have to remember. Oh, yeah. Oh, I know. I know what it is now. Stephanie Cake, will you...
You can mute yourself, and I have Twitch muted, so I can't hear on our system. I won't listen.
Okay. So if I mute the Zoom, you can't hear me, right? Okay, cool. All right. Okay, she's muted, so she can't hear me. So Stephanie Cake is giving... I think this is what it was. Stephanie Cake is doing her study center on Dr. Dunn, right, at AQSG seminar. And all of this, you know, we support each other. That's the thing. Like, oh my God, like, it's hard out here, you know? Support each other, like, really pile on the support, and it makes a difference. And so anybody who's going to the American Quilt Study Group seminar in late September, okay, let's make a cake for Stephanie Cake for her study center, okay? And she's allergic to peanuts, so, but I think we should make a cake. Is that what it was? Oh God, is that what it was? Wait a minute. That's gonna be really hard. We're all in hotels. I don't think that's what it was. Strike that. We'll get her something. Anybody who's at AQSG, but there's something else. It's like, but thank you for reminding me. Who said that? Stephanie, oh yeah, okay. Eva, thank you so much. Eva, I don't know what it was. Okay, I'm going to stop everything. Don't send cake to Louisville. Don't send cakes to AQSG. I'm going to think about it. I'm going to try to remember what it was. It was something special for Stephanie, okay? I'm working on it. I don't know. It had something to do with cake. I know that, but... Okay, just now don't say anything and we'll... Okay, I'm not muted. I mean, you're not. Yeah, you can hear me now. You didn't hear what I had to say, which is fine. It's just fine.
I saw you making all kinds of faces, and I'm sure it was something else.
Yeah. I just looked at Eva's, I don't know what you said, Eva, before, but I just looked at Eva's comment. Why did I type that? Story of my life. Why did I type that? So anyway, Cake reads, okay, good. Dee Marie's got your link up for your Twitch channel. Cake reads the Quilt Classics. We can do this. Earth Girl, you're like, we can do this. Anyway, okay, yeah. So I'll figure it out exactly what we'll do, and then we'll work on it. Everybody, thank you for coming to the show. Stephanie Cake, thank you so much. You're the best.
Aw, shucks.
And I mean, we got Samantha. And we got all kinds of folks, and we had great numbers. We had lots of folks tuning in tonight. So take care. No, Eva, it's okay if you remember which stream it was. Then grab that. Let me know. Send me an email. Mary@maryfons.com. Okay. Thanks everybody. Have a great night, and we will see you on Saturday. We've got a great show on Saturday, and tomorrow's Flag Day. So whatever that means to you, yeah. It's just, I'm proud to be an American. It's complicated, but I'm proud. And that's what I have to say about it. Okay, bye everybody. Take care. Bye. Bye, Cake.